Okay, so before that really dramatic cut off and tease, um, right. So creating objects, we're going to create polygons, and we're going to make sure we've got interactive creation on. By default, if it's turned off, when we create an asset, we just get a little cube in space, which is perfectly cool. It's instant. It gives us an asset. We haven't really got to think about it. It's just there. We start manipulating it. But if we go back to create polygon primitives, interactive creation, and before we actually create anything, if we click on this first little magnet, snap to grids, when I start drawing out a cube, if I said, right, well, my table is about 100 centimeters long, or 1 meter, that's roughly 5 meters. Five of these little squares, so 3, 4, 5, and then I don't know, just shy of 60 centimeters wide. So I've drawn out the profile, and then I just need to click again to drag it up to get the thickness. And because I've got snapped grids on, it has made it thicker than I need. But that's cool. We'll use the other tools to fix this. So all of our tools are on the left hand side. So you've got point, move, rotate, and scale. Each of these colors on the manipulators are color coded to match one of the 3D axes. So on the very bottom left of my screen, you can see the gimbal, yeah, the gimbal, or the world X, Y, and Z. So that you've got a constant reference for how your objects are lined up in world space. So the Y is your up and down, X is left to right, and Z is your depth within the scene. So let's see. Right, manipulating our object. Q. Right. So if we hold down right click on our object, so not in empty space. If you're getting nothing pop up when you do it, you've got nothing selected, and you're not on the mesh. So we can go, by default, we always start on the object mode, which means that whenever we click on something, we grab the entire object. But a 3D asset is made up of more than just a polygon mesh. It is a series of vertexes which are numbered behind the scenes, and then relationships are established between them. So in this case, these two vertices come together to create an edge between them. And then these other two vertices adjacent to them or parallel to them, I have edges drawn between them, and then these edges come together. So I just held down right click, edge mode, and these come together to create a single polygon face. Whilst you're starting out, I think it's easiest to kind of think about polygon faces as panes of glass, like pre-manufactured panes of glass. None of this fancy custom stuff. These are just straight up panes of glass that you've got to stack together in order to create a 3D asset. If you start bending them, so if I bend this one back into 3D space, it may not be very easy to tell in this viewport, but in the middle of this face, kind of from this corner to this corner, things are not cool. It doesn't know how to calculate the shadow across that asset. So for comparison, just quickly, you ain't gonna know how to use this tool yet. In fact, I'd discourage you from using this tool. In an ideal world, there should be, if we want the mesh to create that shape, we need to have an edge that goes through the bend to create two respective straight faces, or two straight panes of glass. So just quickly, I'm taking a little tangent there. Undo. So as a rule of thumb, when we're modeling, we don't want to bend any faces. If we do, we need to split the face into two so that we've got two respectively level faces, as well as we want to keep our faces to 4 sides maximum. 3 sides is fine, but anything more than 4, we need to look at what we're doing and maybe kind of call over a tutor, and we'll go through it personally with you to figure out a solution that's not going to break your meshing game. Right. So manipulating that mesh. Holding our right click face mode. If we up here, we could turn on or off snapping to a grid. At this point, I know that it's wide enough for a table. I can simply manipulate the face and push it down. Or alternatively, I could have gone into edge mode, left clicking on each edge and holding shift to grab multiple. I can grab those up, or right click vertex mode and I could grab one side. So in this case, I could drag up just this side and go for a weird block of cheese shaped desk. The faces have all stayed entirely level, so that's perfectly cool. We can do that. But who has a desk that shape? That's weird. So beyond that, so from there, we've used the move tool. The scale tool, we could play around with the scale tool, I guess. So I'm going to press Control and D to duplicate this mesh and use the move tool to move it down. And if we use the scale tool, so I pressed R, I can just scale it in and create I don't know, table legs. It's going to be the most basic mesh I've made in a long time. So in this instance, the mesh is, because I've manipulated a fair amount and I've not done it in an orthodox way, the pivot point, so the point that the object is manipulated from, has become disjointed from the mesh. If that happens to you, you should go to Modify and Center Pivot. It will relocate it to the middle of your mesh. So now I can quickly stretch that out to make a little table leg. And then, so all I did was scale tool, scaling things up to fit that. Alright, so now I'm just rotating my camera around using the Alt key, left mouse button to rotate, right click to zoom in and out, and Alt and the middle mouse button in to pan up and down. Sometimes you might feel the background is too distracting. Hold down Alt and B, you can cycle through the different setups. So in this case, it's fairly evenly placed. Just sock it in there. Right, cool. So use the move tool, rotate tool, no, move tool and scale tool. What can we use next? The rotate tool. We've got no good examples to use the rotate tool on. So we'll just duplicate the top of the table again, and we'll maybe rotate this up to be a backboard. So if we use the rotate tool, so I could try and eyeball this into position again, but if I go to the channel box on the right hand side, so channel box, here I can see that I've been rotating it in the X. I also know it's the X because the green represents Y, which is up and down, blue is your depth. So process of elimination, that must be the red, which is normally X. The axes change as you select them. So there you go, so X. So in the editor, I can say it now, say, well, I want this to be at a 90-degree angle. If I just change that to -90 rather than trying to manipulate it by hand, there we go. We're in place and we are cooking. We've got a weird bench looking desk. I should have just turned it into a bench, really. No one would have ever knew. Never mind. Alright, so that's move, rotate, and scale. Really simple. The video didn't need to be this long, but there you go, man. More time listening to my voice.